Today I am going to discuss the transferring of affirmative, negative and interrogative sentences. First of all, I will make you understand, I will teach you the lesson in what way affirmative sentence can be transferred into negative sentence. Rule 1. Rule 1. Always and never. The main characteristic of this transformation is that you will have to use antonym while you are going to transfer the affirmative sentence into negative sentence, and in the reverse way you can also be able to transfer the negative sentence into affirmative sentence. So note, using of antonym. Using of antonym. Antonym. I always honor them. This is an example of affirmative sentence containing or including always. So such kind of sentence will be transferred into negative by using never in the sphere of always. So the answer will be I never dishonor them. Now look at these two sentences. One is affirmative and other is negative sentence. First of all, this sentence is started with subjective case. This is an example. Example. I always honor them. And I have already mentioned that you will have to use the antonym. For this reason, I have written here dishonor in the sphere of honor. So the meaning remains same. That means the sentence is transferred from affirmative to negative sentence without change of meaning. The sentence was I always honor them, and the negative form of this sentence is I never dishonor them. This is the first rule. In the second rule, we will see the using of must. That means modal auxiliary verb. Rule: if the affirmative sentence includes must, then you will have to write cannot but. Cannot but verb present, or cannot help verb present adding ing. Verb present adding ing. Now look at the example. I must teach the students. This is an affirmative sentence. Affirmative. Now, following the structure, I will transfer it into negative sentence. So the negative sentence will be I cannot but teach the students. Teach the students. In the alternative way, you can also transfer this affirmative sentence into negative one. It is obvious to you that if you use cannot help in the sphere of must, you will have to add an extra ing form. I cannot help cannot help teaching the students. Teaching the students. This is the example of rule 2. That means your clue or your structure will be differentiated from each other by looking at the verb. In the third rule, you will find another example, another structure. Rule 3. Only or alone. In the case of negative sentence, you will have to write none but or nothing but. Nothing but. Example: affirmative sentence must be written in this way. Only Reza can solve the problem. Solve the problem. This is an example of affirmative sentence. Now look at the structure and try to understand what I am going to explain or illustrate. This sentence is started by writing only. After that, subjective case, model auxiliary, main verb and object. Now you will have to transfer it in the negative sentence. This negative sentence will be started or begun by writing none but. Then you will place the subjective case Reza. After that, in the third part, you will have to write model auxiliary, then main verb in the present form, and at last objective case. So now think why I have not written nothing but, because the subjective case is Reza. But if the subjective case could be written in this way by writing only a computer can solve the problem. Affirmative sentence can also be written in this way. Only a computer can solve the problem. Solve the problem. Then you will have to write nothing but. Nothing but a computer can solve the problem. Here lies the difference between these two examples. Now in the next example, next structure, I will discuss another type of sentence which can be transferred from affirmative to negative, and in the reverse way it can also be transferred from negative to affirmative sentences. Rule 4. Reza likes coffee and tea. So the main characteristic of this affirmative sentence is that such kind of affirmative sentence includes or contains two objects. Affirmative sentence including including two objects. The first object is coffee and the second object is tea. Now, the negative sentence will definitely possess not only but also. Not only first object, and but also second object. Now, watch this example. Reja likes not only coffee, but also tea. I think I have illustrated and explained in this way so that you can understand it, you can realize all these examples very easily. Another examples and another structures are waiting for you. And in the fifth example, we will see in what way affirmative sentence can be transferred into negative sentence, including or possessing or containing auxiliary verb used as principal verb. Rule 5. Affirmative, negative and interrogative. These three kinds of sentences are interrelated with each other. First of all, I will explain here the structure. Subject, auxiliary verb used as principal verb. And then object. In the negative sentence, you will have to write subject, auxiliary verb plus noun, and at last objective case. But this object will definitely be the antonym of the affirmative type of object. Here, antonym must be used. In the interrogative part, you will have to write first auxiliary including not, then subject, and at last object. First of all, I will write the example from the affirmative sentence. Example: Reja is educated. Now let me explain the main structure of this sentence. Reja is used here as subject, auxiliary verb is used as principal verb in the absence of main verb, and at last objective case is educated. Now I will transfer it into negative sentence. Then the sentence will have to be written: Reja is not uneducated. This is the example of negative sentence. Now compare these two sentences into each other. Reja remains unchanged. Subject is auxiliary verb used as principal verb, has been added with not, and at last educated is transferred into uneducated. This kind of antonym will maintain the sentence without change of meaning. And at last interrogative part will have to be written by writing: is not Reja educated? Is not Reja educated. This is the structure of Rule 5. Now I will discuss all these sentences and words to explain the Rule 6. In the Rule 6, you will learn in what way affirmative sentence is going to be transferred into negative and interrogative sentence, and in the reverse way you will also be able to transfer it from another type of sentences into affirmative sentence. In the affirmative sentence, subject, main verb in the past form, main verb past form, and at last object. In the negative sentence, you will have to write subject, then you will write didn't. That means the brief form or short form of did not. After that, you will use the main verb in the present form or base form, present form, and at last object. But same kinds of antony will have to be used by you, as I have already mentioned and written in my previous example and the structure. In the third part, I am going to explain the interrogative sentence. Didn't, then subject, and at last object. Now let me explain all these structures by following the example. Cheap dress. Affirmative sentence. Now the negative sentence will be they did not buy. They didn't buy. Cheap dress will be transferred into costly dress, as the rule of antony. And at last, in the third part, you will have to write the interrogative sentence. Didn't they buy cheap dress? Cheap dress. Now, dear students, you can very easily compare this example with the structure of the sentences. Subject, main verb, past form, object. They subjective case, what is used here as main verb in the present form, and at last objective case, cheap dress. Now look at the example from negative sentence. They didn't buy costly dress, and at last interrogative form, didn't they buy cheap dress. We are going to the ending of this example, and we are going to the ending of this discussion. Subject, main verb can be only present form, or it can also be written present form adding s or es. Then in the negative form, you will have to write subject, don't or doesn't, and at last object. In the third part, interrogative sentence, don't or doesn't, then subjective case, and at last object. it is very obvious to you that if the main verb is written only in the present form, then you will have to use don't as auxiliary verb. But if the main verb is written in present form adding s or es, that means including s or es at the end, then you will have to write doesn't in the case of in the spheres of negative sentence, and same is the case of interrogative sentences. They buy cheap dress. This kind of affirmative sentence will be written in the negative form by writing they don't buy. Cheap dress will be transferred into costly dress. Costly dress. And in the negative form, you have already seen the example. In the third part, interrogative sentence, you will have to write don't they buy. Don't they buy cheap dress. Cheap dress. Now I am going to write the example including s or es at the end of the present form. This type of verb including s or es will depend on the using of subjective case. If the subjective case is written in the third person singular number, then an extra s or es will be added at the end of the present form. He buys cheap dress. The negative form will be he doesn't buy. He doesn't buy costly dress. And in the interrogative form, doesn't he buy cheap dress? I think these structures and examples are sufficient for you so that you can understand these points, this clue very easily. And now I am going to start the last lesson of today's class. Affirmative sentence sometimes affirmative sentence, negative sentence and interrogative sentence. Sometimes affirmative sentence is started by writing everybody. Then in the negative sentence, you will have to write nobody. And in the interrogative part, your sentence will be started by writing who doesn't. Now look at the example. Everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to be happy. This kind of affirmative sentence can be easily transferred into negative sentence by writing nobody wants to be unhappy. Nobody wants to be unhappy. Negative form. Such kind of antonym will have to be written at the end of your answer. And at the last part, who doesn't Who doesn't want to be happy? Want to be happy. Here is the differentiating subject matter between these three types of sentences. And at last, the last example of today's online class is going to be written by me, and this is the everything, nothing. Affirmative sentence, including or possessing everything. Everything, and in the negative case, you will have to write nothing. Nothing. Now I will explain the example. Everything is pure. Everything is pure. This is an example from affirmative sentence. And this type of affirmative sentence will be transferred into negative sentence by writing nothing. Nothing is impure. Dear students, it is a very short span of time to take the online classes. As a result, I am not able to explain all the structures in the single class or one class. In my next class, I will give example and I will explain the rest part of this discussion. Okay, goodbye.